and a youth leader at his church. And it's just so awesome to have you join us today. Hi, Estwynn.
Hi there, good day. How are
Uh,
you? Are you well?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just so blessed to have you. Getting right into it, Estwynn, tell us, what was your life before God?
Well, if I have to take it way back, um, I grew up in a place called Grassy Park, Lotus River, and unfortunately, my parents divorced when I was in primary school still.
Mm,
I then moved to Paro Valley and started becoming rebellious when going to high school. I started bunking school, started smoking cigarettes, I started smoking dacha, started drinking alcohol, started dating girls, having sex before marriage, and then eventually later on in life, once again, like you mentioned earlier on, just started abusing drugs such as tuk, and even buttons. And my life spiraled out of control to a point where I even ran away from home and ended up in Belleville on Voortrekker Road, where
mm,
I met people, who were involved in various things, drug merchants,
mm.
drug addicts, prostitutes, and gangsters. And yeah, man, a life without Christ isn't really a life worth living. There'll always be this God-sized hole that can only be filled by God. And just to conclude, my senior pastor, Galen Orange, always says, you can have everything in the world,
Mm,
but if you don't have Christ, then you actually have nothing. And
so true.
likewise, you can have absolutely nothing in this world, but if you have Christ, then you actually have everything.
Mm. And being in that state of mind, consumed, ran away from home, what was going on in your mind at that point in your life? Did you ever think that your life would have changed for the better?
Actually, no. I could sense that my life was spiraling out of control. And you know what is the strangest thing is that when you don't have Christ as your rock and your firm
Mm,
foundation, things start to spiral out of control, to a point where you can't really see yourself getting out of this thing. And that's not just with substance abuse, but every other
mm,
addiction. It starts off simple, it starts off innocent, but eventually, it grips you and it keeps you bound. So I couldn't see myself getting out of it.
oh,
And I think that's the beauty of it all, that we are never able to help ourselves. I think God definitely wants to get all the glory, so
mm,
that when He delivers us, then we can look back and say, "Man, as dit vir die Here was,"
mm. What happened what was that moment actually where God stepped in that you were like, yeah, I want to change my life? Tell us about that moment. Tell us what happened that day.
That's actually a wonderful question, and some people might even be shocked. But I believe that God can use anyone,
Mm,
even an unbeliever. I got to a point where, as I said, I ran away from home. I ended up in an abandoned building in Belleville, on Voortrekker Road, the old Home Affairs building opposite the Melomed Hospital currently. And one of the merchants that was living in this flat,
mm,
one day stopped me, and he called me and said, "Estwynn, what are you doing here?" Coming from someone who is looking for victims, someone who's looking for people to support his business,
mm.
actually stopped me and said, "Brother, you don't belong here."
Wow.
And it's those words, that ringed over and over in my mind. He even told me, "You come from a good home," and he could say this because,
Saying that these words were ringing in your mind?
yeah. And what happened is that he was telling me, that all the other colored guys that come there, they are either gangsters or they are drug addicts that just seem